In a crisis, you don't rise to the level of your aspiration, you fall to the level of your training. Hello, my name is Padraig Walsh and I'm a partner in the corporate commercial team at Tanner DeWitt in Hong Kong. Today I'd like to speak about training and awareness in the context of preparing the response to data breaches. So why is this important? Again, there are positive and there are negative reasons for that. The positive reasons are your people are your first line of defense in information security. By training your people and making your people aware of the threats to the security of your IT systems, you are helping to prevent incidents and breaches before they occur. So training is the instrument by which you mitigate and reduce the loss and liability that can be associated with data breaches. The defensive reason is, very often, investigators and regulators will report on the absence of effective training or even any training as one of the core factors that lead to serious data breaches. So if you do not have an effective training system in place, this is one of the adverse factors that will aggravate the outcome if there is an investigation to a data breach when it occurs. So who should be trained? Well, basically everybody. Anybody who has access to and uses the IT systems of your business needs to be trained in respect of the threats to that information security system and how they can play their part and their role in keeping it confidential, maintaining the integrity and the availability of those systems. So everybody. But everybody needs to be trained in a different way because the threats that they will be exposed to and they need to be aware of, and the actions they need to take if they identify threats or if things happen, will depend on their role and how they interact with the IT systems. So everybody needs to be trained, but in a way that is relevant, customized, and tailored to what their role and their function is. And when should this be done? When should the training occur? Very frequently. It will start when people join the organization on induction and will continue in varied and frequent ways throughout their period with the organization. So what do I mean by very frequently? One of the things you might think about doing is a training calendar where you know that over the course of a particular period, you're going to touch upon different core subjects in different ways so that people have exposure to the key ingredients of the training program at relevant times and at periodic intervals. One of the worst things you could do is to have an annual calendar where people have to acquire a number of points within that period based on hours of training, because inevitably what people will do is get 90% of the hours required in the last month of that particular calendar year. What you should do is to structure something that makes sure that people will be exposed to the right kind of training at times that are the most critical and relevant for them in respect of their course of their work. That can be a combination of things. It could be a combination of making training that is available for access when people have time. It could be having training where people are required to attend at specific times, so people gather in proper groups and are able to share intelligence and know-how across different functions and different departments in a way that is meaningful for the organization. Or it can be something that is done on a just-in-time basis. Maybe there are particular occasions where systems are especially vulnerable. For instance, you often find that incidents occur around particular holiday or festive periods. So you might time a training session to coincide with just before people go away for Christmas. These are ways in which you can make your training calendar meaningful and responsive. What should the training actually comprise of? Well, there are two elements to it. There's training on the one hand, which is formal direction in respect of core areas that are relevant to the information security of the business. And that can be done in a range of ways. It can be done in the traditional session where there's a seminar and someone is speaking and delivering that. It can be done through web-based tools. It can be done through just people being able to patch into particular conversations, or it can be done through things that are done on a more just-in-time basis. Whatever form of training is conducted, there should be a way of measuring attendance, measuring participation, and measuring what has been learned. And that can be done through a number of assessment tools, maybe through questionnaires where people have to respond to record what they have learned in respect of a particular training session, or through surprise questionnaires or tools or methods. For instance, one of the common methods that is used to assess people's awareness of phishing is for a simulated phishing attack to be conducted, or in respect of how people would respond to a data breach is to run a tabletop exercise where people are run through a simulated data breach scenario to assess how they respond according to the circumstances of that scenario, and then to assess their readiness. So training isn't just about showing up. It is actually about learning and applying. Also, there's awareness. Now, awareness is different to training. Training is directional. Awareness is just raising a threshold in people's surroundings so that they are aware of the importance and relevance of information security in the organization. And this can be done through campaigns, through posters, through multimedia messages, through reminders, anything that brings information security to the top of mind at that particular moment. How do you go about ensuring the buy-in for a training and awareness protocol and system? Well, you have to work across the organization to build the support. You need to work on a cross-departmental and cross-functional basis, because whatever training or awareness you hope to deliver in relation to data breach awareness, you have to do so in a way that is relevant to the people in that particular department and in that function. You need to make sure that you've got budgetary and senior management support for the training program, and you need to work with a training department, if you have one, to ensure that this is a core element of what they are delivering. So you need to look at all the stakeholders and make sure that they are involved in helping to prepare people on how to respond to a data breach.